There's a school of thought that says that we need to be less reliant on tourism. Are you of that view? I'm of a view that if a product is working, you should milk the product. Milk it! Milk it! Milk the cow! Tourism has worked for Jamaica. Even in the pandemic, the tourism product stayed afloat. Not many countries can boast about that. But I'm going to ask Ed Bartlett and the tourism ministry today, are you satisfied with where tourism is today? Are we going to be able to diversify tourism so that more people can be included in the product to make that dollar? The US dollar spends a lot in our tourism product. When you go Montego Bay, Negril, Sen, and Little Ochi. When you go to the parish called Ocherius, because them say Ochi is a parish, I see people saying, yeah man, tourism working. But what about ecotourism? What about those areas that have the potential to grow exponentially? Aren't we going to see to it that they rise above the surface? When I go to St. Thomas, Bath, Reggae Falls all possess the ability to earn the greater dollar. When I go to Milk River, the cosmetic industry can develop in a way where more people are involved in Milk River. When I go to all of these places, you talk about health tourism. Don't you know that Jamaica has some of the best herbal and holistic healers in our land? Yet still, we have not promoted this kind of holistic tourism where more Jamaicans and more visitors have access to these herbalists. Can you imagine the kind of added benefit that can offer to Jamaica? When you think of that, you also think about community tourism that has a potential to include more ordinary Jamaicans to earn a livable wage. We speak about crime and we say because of crime in a lot of these areas, it is very difficult for us to promote community tourism. I am of the view on Unfiltered that if we, Jamaica, reduce crime by involving more players such as the strongmen to become security guards and them, we call them Jamaica, the people who secure the communities, earning a livable income. You can imagine if crime is down, how other areas such as West Kingston, Sherlock, and all these places can earn from tourism. Imagine Airbnbs being set up in these areas and people can come and hear and experience one love and one heart. Let us get together. We need to get together, Jamaica, and have this conversation today on Unfiltered. And surprisingly, we're going to have this conversation, but Ricardo is going to be in studio with us today. Roger not here. But isn't it reasonable that we look at that? If tourism works for some, I believe it can work for all. This is Unfiltered. Stay tuned. Jamaica, unfortunately, Roger is not in studio today. But I have a very good guest. Ricardo, welcome.
Andre.
Lord, you're strong. But welcome to Unfiltered, my brother.
Thanks you for being
You know, we're having a discussion this week on tourism. Tourism in this country, I believe, I don't know what's your take on it, but I believe the tourism product needs to be diversified. I don't know if you remember in history where Jamaica's agricultural product was always sugar, and there was the need for us to diversify the economy and agriculture. I'm also of the view that tourism has become stagnated or stagnant. For true, because hear why I say this, my brother. Many of our hotels did not have the visitor stopover arrivals to fill the hotel rooms for the past 2 years. And whereas tourism product having a part of the GDP being 17% annually and more, be it resolved that the tourism product of Jamaica, because you're a debater, Ricardo, I have to put it like that, the tourism product of Jamaica needs to include more products such as ecotourism, community tourism. What's your take on that?
I do agree that there are many shortcomings to our economy with the pertaining to tourism, but I don't understand the point you made when you say that community tourism would address the concern that we have been experienced by the pandemic. Given the fact that the pandemic was an external shock, it will also affect community tourism in the same capacity as it affects many of our hotel resources.
Diversifying the product to have more people involved, you can get a greater generation.
But how would something like community tourism or ecotourism be not or less susceptible to the COVID-19 shock than our current
I have
hotel
passed the
resources?
COVID. I have passed the COVID, you know. I am simply saying to you, we need to find other ways of diversifying the product.
I am saying that this COVID-19 pandemic has exposed our weaknesses as an economy.
So then my question is, if not tourism, what?
Manufacturing. Something that
If
is
not
less.
tourism, what? Manufacturing.
Yes.
But Jamaica not manufacturing. Because if we have an importation bill of 60%, how then are we going to focus on manufacturing? I'm of the view that if something is not broken, you don't need to fix it. You need to improve the product. And the product called tourism offers opportunities. It offers jobs. It offers a myriad of employment for so many Jamaicans. Just imagine, Ricardo, the recent statistics says our unemployment rate is at 6.2%. Imagine,
in history.
lowest according to them, but I don't know which history that, because I see so many unemployed people within the communities that I go daily. My point is, if you find communities that have a rich culture and a rich heritage, the community offers a business. Jamaica has some of the best areas, best rivers, best mountainous regions, and those areas are not tapped into. When I look at Milk River, Bath St. Thomas, Firewater, Blue Hole, the experience the visitors can have from the healing of the minerals, it is superb. And yet still, we have not developed that sector of our tourism product so that it can be monetized the right way.
But one of the issues we have here is that in order for us to present community tourism as being attractive to the consumer, we have to ensure that it's competitive with the resources that we have here. And one of the problems is, when considering the cost, it is extremely lower to visit an all-inclusive hotel than in many cases community tourism.
So you're saying it's cheaper to do a all-inclusive visit?
Yes.
Where is your evidence to support that argument?
I am not 100% sure.
No, Ricardo. Because if you are going to say it is cheaper for somebody to go to a hotel versus what is the
but
rate?
that is the advantage of having all-inclusive hotel in Jamaica.
Where? How much you have to pay to be in all-inclusive hotels?
I'm not sure about the cost.
Alright, let me go give you on average. One night is $250 to $350 at one of the cheaper hotels, right? You do the maths. When you go to Milk River and Bath, you're going to spend $3,000 or $4,000 to get a herbal holistic healing. You can spend one next $2,000 to go do what? Eat something there, so you can spend. No. It is, you said cheap, I know.
But it is.
Where?
That is one of the factors that was seen there.
Where, Ricardo? Who tell you say being in a hotel cheaper? What kind of fallacious reasoning that?
But I am 100% sure that there are studies in Jamaica that track the increase in all-inclusive hotels to the increase in the amount of tourism that comes to Jamaica. So there's a correlation there with
Ricardo,
the increase in hotel and increase in tourism.
Disagree.
So we can say that this idea that we are increasing the amount of all-inclusive we have in Jamaica is also causal to the increase in tourism we
Ricardo,
have there.
In diversifying the tourism product, we already have enough hotels.
You don't think so?
I think
investors still see hotels as a profitable initiative in
Yeah, it
Jamaica.
is profitable to
And hotels are still
yes,
building
it
in
is
Jamaica.
profitable to the investors, the foreign direct investors. But when you look at the country itself, hotels don't benefit Jamaica, you know.
Of course,
It
people are
can't benefit
employed in Jamaica.
at what? Do they have livable wages?
Of course, some of them are.
Where, Ricardo? Where, Ricardo? Where do they have livable wages? How many of them have pensions? How many of them have opportunities where outside of that they get a degree, they get to be promoted in the hotel sector? Do you know, Ricardo, that in the hotel sector, the middle managers, majority of them are not Jamaicans? At least 95% of those who are the middle managers are actually from the country that we have, that the hotel bills. So I'm going to say to you, how that benefit the country? We're asking for a better Jamaica. We're asking for the tourist product to be developed in a way whereby, let me put this argument to you. Imagine a Jamaica where in the inner city, it is that diversified tourism product, wherein which Sherlock, Tivoli, Weddy, these places have Airbnbs that is coupled with strong men securing the areas, creating employment opportunities, creating jobs whereby locals can either house visitors or be jerkman, be soupy, be this, be that. Can you imagine the kind of economic livelihood that that community would bring?
Can I imagine? Of course. That is a place that we want to get to as a society. But the question is, how do we get there? I don't think you can sell this argument to any Jamaican today that we can couple policing with strongmen in our community. I think Jamaica has far past this idea where we buy into Danmanship mentality. So I don't think if we want to couple community policing with Danmanship, that would be a viable option.
I'm not saying that Danmanship is being legitimized.
But what
I am saying
the proposal like you just did.
I am saying putting people to work. You know, while the tourism product has not been developed properly, the argument is, Jamaica, that within these inner cities, there's the issue of crime. If we bring down crime, more visitors would want to go to West Kingston because they want to know who was Dodos. They want to know who was this man, who was that man. The product called badmanism is also a part of the tourism product of Jamaica.
I disagree 100% with
really, Ricardo?
Do you really think tourists come to Jamaica because they want to know about dudus?
I'm not saying this alone, but the culture of crime and violence is also something that makes the tourism product unique. Why do you think so when tourists come, them want to go weddy and passa? Have you ever considered that? It's because the tourists who come here believe in a diversified people. Our culture says it, our motto says it, out of many, we are one. So have you considered that?
But I think the reason, and I think this directly contradicts your point, the reason
what
why tourists find all-inclusive resources to be so attractive is one of the crime and violence concerns that they also have. And one of the arguments for all-inclusive hotel too is that it preserves a more sanitized Jamaica, in which is also increased the Jamaica brand also.
But you see, have we been at a position where we have explored making these communities safe and using these communities to be a part? You hear Gordon Wood Stewart, may his soul rest in peace, was one of those men who created an ecosystem where around them the communities benefited from the tourism product, in which there were community tours, rivers, all of these things were involved in the tourist experience. I am saying to you, Ricardo, in Kingston, you have many hotels, quite a few hotels, but have these hotels developed the community tourism alliance, wherein which outside of being in that hotel space, people can go and experience the life of Kingston. And in exploring the life of Kingston, they still are safe. I don't believe so. When I look in Kingston, you see the tourists walking up and down, just in the communities here, there. Them go up a Bubble Hill, them go here, so there, so. That's what the people want to experience.
I think one of the conversations we can also have is how can we increase the Jamaican experience in some of these hotels? And that's a conversation I think is an interesting one instead of exposing many of these tourism to the external.
So you're saying that you're not willing to fix Jamaica, in which it can be reduced by crime and at the same time have tourists or visitors coming here to just experience the day-to-day life.
I am willing to fix Jamaica, but I'm proposing that until then, this is an option that we should consider.
But when I think of it, if you keep improving the hotels, how do you improve the country?
Because the hotels provide employment, provide agricultural opportunity for many sectors in our economy, and this is very integral to the functionality and growth of our economy.
As a functionalist, Ricardo, which you are, Jamaica positions better if there's a diversified product, because all facets bring in added income. So if you look at the holistic tourism product, if you look at the community tourism product, the eco-friendly tourism product, tourism that speaks to mental health, I'm saying to you, Ricardo, it can be a greater economic livelihood of Jamaica to be better. But stay tuned to Jamaica. We're going to have a very special guest to bring the conversation to another level. The conversation continues with the tourism product, diversifying the tourism product. And we have Mrs. Diana McIntyre Piker, the founder and president of the Country Style Community Tourism Network, otherwise known as Mama D. Mama D, welcome to Unfiltered. How are you?
Oh, thank you, my dear. It's a real pleasure. Thank you.
So, Mama D, we have been having the discussion on diversifying tourism in Jamaica, so as to have more of our Jamaicans being included in earning a dollar. Tell us about your tourism network.
Well, our community tourism network is an approach called community development. And that's why we created the Villages as Businesses program, because we wanted to have communities trained how to manage their community as a business. And we do a business plan, and then we market that business plan so that they can get the support they require for their projects and their businesses. And this has worked very well because you get more support that way, not only from Jamaicans here and the diaspora, but also visitors from overseas who want to give support to the lifestyle. They enjoy seeing what goes on, and I can just give you a quick example of one particular tour that was very successful, Orange Bay Village in the Negril area, Hanover. The first stop was a hairdressing salon where they were able to interact with the hairdresser and her customers. And then from there, they went to the basic school and they spent an hour in the basic school interacting with the children and the teachers.
Yes.
And then they went to the prep school. Then from the prep school, they went to the church, the Moravian church.
Oh, okay.
Where they were able to read. And we met some crowd people who were outside from the community. And then we went to the community bar where they learned the real way to mix rum punch, 1 of sour, 2 of sweet, 3 of strong, and 4 weak.
Wow.
And then from there, they went and looked at the owner's home because they wanted to see how she lived. And they were quite amazed how she had 5 children and lived in 1 bedroom.
Wow.
And 1 bedroom. A bedroom, a house.
So you're saying the tourists had an opportunity to be a part of the village experience?
They're part of the lifestyle of the village, which is what they wanted. And they were in such awe when they entered the community restaurant and they walked down to the pastry shop. But what happened is that we created marketing ambassadors for the community, because they went back and told other people in the hotel where they're staying and got them to come as well. And they went and told people overseas when they went back home.
Wow.
So what we actually have done is created marketing ambassadors, not only from the community, people themselves, for them to understand their community too, because some of them didn't realize that they had so much to offer. And every stop got money. we divided up the tour money with every stop, and the person who did the tour, the official tour operator company, they put the community host guide. We don't call them tour guides. Community host guide.
Community host guide.
And she then introduced the community to them, and they love that.
Okay.
But she's talking about her community, not some official tour guide. So, this is it makes a big difference.
So you're saying it's no longer a tour guide, but a community guide?
No, you don't call it tour guide. You know why? Because the European market is complaining that we're calling people tour guide, and they're not tour guides because they're not at that level. They've not been trained at a professional level, degree and diploma and so on, knowing the world of Jamaica. That is the problem. It's misrepresentation. So you can't get there, So what I did was I got a year funding from Canada, CEDA, and we created community host guide, and we created community cooks, because we have some very good cooks, but they had no certification. So now we have that. We have that now. Because
so with your level of the community network, what you have built is a system, an ecosystem that helps communities. So you give them training, you give them compensation, right, for their time and their efforts. This sounds like a model that should be developed right across Jamaica.
Well, we have it across Jamaica. We work with many communities and other organizations who have become members. We have a large membership, partners. We have partners all over Jamaica and the Caribbean region, and out of the Caribbean too. But what I'm saying to you is that these people, it's not a matter of getting compensation. It's a matter of developing their projects in a business-like way, so it can be promoted to get support. And the diaspora is loving this because they can get direct control over what is happening, and some of them come from these communities. But the only thing that was missing, was a funding arm, and we now have that. The diaspora has registered it in North America called ComFund, Communities and Fund, and the interest from that will go towards community projects and businesses for low interest and soft loans.
So I've been saying, Mama D, one of the things I believe that can work for inner cities to make them winner cities is, for instance, the popular cities, so popular towns and communities such as Sherlock, West Kingston, that has a history behind it. Don't you believe that this model could work despite these areas being crime prone?
All communities can participate.
One of the things is Sherlock, or that area, is known for the dance. They're dancers. Them keep these. You hear about God, Sherlock, Shabba Ranks and all of those people. That kind of tourism product speaks to the culture of of Kingston. So what I am saying, how can communities become greater involved in getting a part of your network so they themselves can get the tourists to come to these areas?
Do me a favor, don't call it tourists. Visitors.
The visitors. My apologies. My apologies, Mama D. My apologies. I refrain from calling them tourists. To get the visitor arrivals to increase in the communities.
The only way that can happen is for them, just like how you build a hotel and you prepare the hotel to be able to welcome guests there. It's the same principle for a community. You can't just bring people to a community and you don't have the community prepared. So that is a clean environment, and also a good hospitality and a professional approach. And that's what we do. We teach them how to be business people and have business projects that we can showcase a visitor, whether local or foreign visitor, including the diaspora. The diaspora is our lead organization for our program because they understand what is required and they want to help the country. So how can you help the country if you don't have business projects that you can present? So that is why we have a different approach. We're not doing it for tourism. We're doing it for the people,
So
community development.
it is for the upliftment of the community, the people, and the surroundings.
That's correct.
So
That's
if
correct.
that is the concept, it's a win-win situation where visitors experience the lifestyle, but the citizens within the community find ways in which they can have economic levity and, make a money from it. But at the same time, as you said, making the community a business.
And what I want you to understand, that community tourism is not just for communities, it's for the hoteliers and everybody. Because Wood Stewart heard about and was the only one who came to visit one of our communities. And he put together the Sandals Foundation. And the Sandals Foundation has helped many communities, right?
Okay.
So that's a mindset change. That's a mindset change. And if you don't incorporate communities in the community development of hotels and so on, then you're going to have a problem. You can't have people around hotels and they're not benefiting.
I
You
agree.
have to find, this is the approach we use.
So may his soul rest in peace. So Sir Gordon Wood Stewart is actually one of the first Jamaican hoteliers to include communities in the building of hotels. Interesting.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And then he got his guests to participate in the Sandals Foundation by giving contributions. So that is what we want to see with everybody, that it should be done that way. And then the other problem you have is the environment, protecting the natural environment of your communities.
Agreed.
And the hotels, we have a problem because in Hanover they went and removed mangroves to build a big hotel. And
they went and removed where? What?
In Hanover, there's a big hotel of 2,000 rooms being built now, and the mangroves were removed to do that. And that is a big crisis for us in our program because we want to protect the natural environment.
The protection of the environment is also a major part of the holistic and health tourism product that Jamaica has.
Absolutely.
And if you remove that to go build white sand beaches and hotels, something definitely wrong there, so Mama D. Right. So the truth be told, I'm asking now for you to give Ed Bartlett and the senior technocrats within the Ministry of Tourism, give them one recommendation where community tourism can live in harmony with the tourism product of Jamaica. Can you give them one final recommendation?
Greater collaboration, because we have like the health and wellness, we have over 40 niche markets under community tourism. Community tourism is a mindset change now. It's not a niche market. Community tourism is a mind, that's what Wood Stewart understood. Mindset change of how you approach development. And we have many NGOs out there doing great jobs that need to be worked with. But you don't go to them and get information from them and says your information.
Sad.
That is you.
That's a sad reality. People must be recognized for their work. So thank you.
Yes.
So thank you, Miss Mama D. You have said it here for greater collaboration and community cohesion. So Mama D has given us a greater scope of community tourism being a business for a community. Ricardo mentioned earlier that as a country we need to be less reliant on tourism. But I disagree with Ricardo. He says, not tourism, let us manufacture. But are we really ready for manufacturing? Are we ready to build factories? Have we ever been a country that promotes the industries? The truth is no. But tourism is that one milk that creates opportunities for all. And all I am saying is, communities can coincide in an eco-friendly society where both the hotelier and the communities benefit. Subsequent to that, we can also have a deeper understanding of how we as a people need to have greater inclusion. If more people are included in the tourism product, a diversified product, imagine the kind of GDP that we would have had. Ricardo said tourism is at 17% of GDP. But if we belt it the right way, Jamaica, we can have the tourism product being 20-25% of GDP. Imagine how many Jamaicans who are unemployed. I heard the Prime Minister or PSOJ recently come out and say Jamaica has the lowest unemployment rate. I don't know about that because the amount of unemployed people that I see on the road who is not accounted for by statin. The truth be told, many of these people, if they get the requisite training, can become tourism ambassadors and help tourism to promote the right kind of a business. Bath River, Milk River, all of these places have the true economic opportunity to be economically viable. And being economically viable, it gives Jamaica a greater potential to be boosted the right way. I want a Jamaica where tourism can benefit not one, not two or three, but it can fill and it can benefit all. My name is Andre Stevens, and this is Unfiltered. Walk good.